Hello everyone, I am Dr. Jesse Rhines and welcome once again to Loft Interviews. Today I am in Virginia with a friend of mine, the guy that I've known for quite a long time, and he does some stuff that you might not have any knowledge of. I certainly had no knowledge of it when he came, and it has to do with this little thing he has in his hand. What exactly is that thing?
This is a paddle from Suriname, formerly Dutch Guiana in the northeast Amazon. It's made by a group of people known as the Maroons, used to be known as the Bush Negroes. They're essentially descendants of escaped African slaves who were brought to the Amazon several hundred years ago.
Oh, okay. And why were they brought to the Amazon several hundred years ago?
Well, when the Spanish set up the cotton and sugar plantations, they needed slaves to work the plantations, and the Indians either died from infectious disease or they ran off in the bush. So they decided to bring in some human capital from Africa. So that started the slave trade in South America. Not all that different than we saw here in North America. Maybe it started a little bit earlier in South America.
Okay. Okay, now, in case you guys don't recognize him, this guy is really a world famous ethnobotanist. And his name is Dr. Mark Plotkin. Mark, thanks for coming and seeing us on Loft Interviews.
Good to be here, Jesse.
Now, Mark does most of his work in the Amazon, and he is in charge of a group. What's the name of your group?
We're called the Amazon Conservation Team. We were founded about 12 or 13 years ago, and it's our mission to work in partnership with indigenous peoples to protect culture and their rainforest. Without Indians, there's no rainforest. Without rainforest, there's no Indians.
Okay, so your job really has nothing to do with Americans. So there's no reason for Americans to care about what you do. I mean, this little paddle, and you can see that it's quite decorous. You can see that it's decorous, and I think we appreciate the decoration. But why do Americans have to care about what happens in a place that's, first of all, Dutch, and then is in South America?
Well, it's oxygen for your grandchildren, Jesse. The fourth or fifth greatest contribution to global warming is carbon coming out of burning rainforests.
Mm-hmm.
So many of our medicines come from the rainforest. Clean water comes out of the rainforest. Climate buffer is one of the purposes of the rainforest. Mm-hmm. So we live in fortress America, and we find out ever since 9/11, in particular, that much what happens overseas affects us here at home as well. So when rainforests are cut down, people wash up on our shores. When rainforests are cut down, global warming gets worse. When rainforests are cut down, new medicines to treat so-called incurable diseases don't get cured. So we have a lot to do with the rainforest, and the rainforest has a lot to do with us.
Oh, that's interesting. How many rainforests do we have right here in America?
Well, it depends on your definition of America, because there's certainly rainforests in Puerto Rico. And there is.
What's the name of that rainforest in Puerto Rico?
The rainforest in Puerto Rico is called El Yunque, but rainforests on islands like Puerto Rico or Jamaica or Cuba, for that matter, tend not to be as species rich as that is the Amazon. So I don't want to say we need to protect the Amazon and not protect the Caribbean rainforest, but we need to protect all of it.
Well, in the Amazon, they're cutting down the trees. They're really kind of clearing the land. So really, they are cutting the rainforest down. Is that it?
Well, it's kind of frustrating for me as an ethnobotanist who's been working in conservation for over 2 decades to see how much deforestation is actually happening. With all the money that's been raised and spent on saving the Amazon, it's kind of frustrating that anybody would want to cut it down. As far as I'm concerned, people should protect primary forests everywhere, in the Amazon, in Canada, in the U.S., in the Caribbean, and work on deforested lands or degraded forests. But it is true that there is a lot of deforestation happening in South America. But there's also some good news as well in terms of protection of standing forests.
Mm-hmm. Well, now rainforests are being cut down. People have talked about frogs being killed all over the place, but there are also people living in those rainforests. And in fact, there's some new groups that have been discovered there that have never seen white people before.
Yep.
That have never seen cities before. Can you tell us about any of that?